Okay, so 9-5 binomial theorem. We're going to use our Pascal's triangle that we made yesterday, along with finding coefficients just directly. So the first thing, you do not need to write all this out. We have some of it. Binomial coefficients. If we look at the top one, I have x plus y to the 0. Well, anything to the 0 is what? 1. Okay, then we had x plus y to the first. Well, that's just x plus y. Yes? My coefficients are what? 1 and 1. So if I take this over here and write out my coefficients, you moved. Okay. If I take it over here and I write out my coefficients, I have 1 for the first, right? And then I have 1, 1. Correct? Well, the next one I have squared. And if I FOIL it out, what are my coefficients that I have? 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. What's the next one? 1, 3, 3, 1. What am I forming here, guys? Pascal's triangle. Okay. We don't want to do all that foiling or expanding, do we, by hand?
Nope.
So that's where we're going to use Pascal's triangle and the binomial theorem. Okay? You don't need, I told you didn't need to write this. Okay. So this is where those coefficients come from. This is where your triangle comes from. But without using the triangle, we can use this, the binomial theorem. The binomial theorem says if I have the expression x plus y to the n, that can be x minus y to the n. That can be 2x minus 3z to the n. You get it? It's just a binomial. Binomials how many things? 2. Okay? As long as I have a quantity of 2 things, this is what I can use to find the coefficients. Coefficients only. Got it? Okay. And choose R. You guys remember that from last year? Okay, that's fine. Okay. Yes, you need this formula right here. You need to know this formula. It is N choose R, and it's going to switch because I touched it. It is N choose R. It is right here. Okay. Out of N things, I want R of them. Okay, that is factorial. That is that very excited number. We did that last year also. Well, figure it out, guys. Dig it out. Okay.
I got the same book.
From what factorial, I'll explain what it means. Okay, do you have the formula written down?
I do.
Okay, N is how many things total there are. R is what you want. So, 6 choose 3. I want to know how many ways I can choose 3 things out of 6. That's what that means. Got it? So, factorial is 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1. So 5 factorial is what? 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay? It must be. I don't know. Okay? So that's what factorial means. The other way we can write this instead of the NCR is just N over R. And that's implied. If you see this right here, it is the same thing as that. Okay? Your book will have it both ways today. And we say it, N choose R. Another stylus that I can use. So our first example, I have 8 choose 2. Okay, what we are going to do is we're going to use these to find binomial coefficients. So I'm looking for that one. Yeah, it's not going to work. The one. My finger's too cold. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1. Yes, those are coefficients, correct? Yeah. But I don't want to make, what row would this be? What row would this be? 8. What term? Second. Okay, so I want the 8th row second coefficient. So I could write out my Pascal's triangle, or I could use this formula right here. So it says n factorial, well, what's n? 8. So 8 factorial, it's not picking up that, over 8 minus what? 2. So 8 minus 2 is 6 factorial over, or times 2 factorial. Okay? So we need to be able to simplify this because I do not want to take 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2, and I'm going to leave off the 1, and then divide that by 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 2. I don't want to do it. I want to simplify it because we've learned that simplifying first helps, right? So if I write these as 8 times 7 times 6, and I'm going to put 6 factorial for a reason here, because 6 factorial is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, correct? Well, what do I have in the bottom? 6 factorial. Yep, just a second. And I also have 2 factorial, which is just what? 1 and 2, so it's just 2, right? So my 6 factorial and my 6 factorial can reduce, can't it? Well, does 2 go into 8 or 7? 8. How many times? 4. So 4 times 7 is? 28.
What happened to the factorial of the 2?
Well, it's 2 times 1.
Oh, okay.
So it's 2. So when you look at the 8th row, remember the ones on the outside aren't the first term, that's the 0 term, right? Remember? So if you look at your Pascal's triangle to go to the 8th row and go in to the second term, what is it? 28. Is that what we just found? Yes.
Wait, you don't start on the...
No, remember it's 0 at the top and 0, those outside diagonals are the 0 position.
Yep.
Okay. So what's the next one? 10 over 10, choose 3, right? It's the same thing. 10, choose 3. So what's my n? 10, what's my r? 3. So I want the 10th row, third term. Do we have the 10th row? What's the third term? 120. So that's what we should get, right? So we have 10 factorial over what?
10 minus 3 factorial.
So 7 factorial, 3 factorial. Okay. So I only have to write out 10 till I get to 7, don't I? So it's going to be 10, 9, 8, 7 factorial. I'm not getting my dots. And then 7 factorial. And 3 factorial is 3 times what? 2. So I have to, and we don't have to write the ones, do we?
No.
Because it's just times 1. Okay, so 7 factorial and 7 factorial can reduce. Yes? Okay. How else can I reduce it?
The 3 and the 9.
The 3 and the 9.
And either the 2 and the 8 or the 2 and the 10.
Well, let's keep the 10. Multiplying by 10 is easy, right?
The 8.
Yeah, we can go to 5
You don't got a 5?
too. If the 2,
Yeah. Okay, but if I multiply by 10, I don't have to think.
could we still do it?
Yeah, you could do it 5, but you could only do it 1. You can do 10 or 8, but not both.
Oh,
Is that what you're asking?
yeah.
Okay, yes.
I'm confused on where you got the 7.
Because 10 factorial is 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1.
Yeah, the 7 in the denominator.
Oh, it's n minus r. So 10 minus 3.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Okay, so I have 3 times 4 is what? 12? Times 10 is
120.
120. Is that what we should have gotten?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So today you're going to be doing both. You're going to be using your triangle and you're going to be using the formula. And this formula you do need to know because we're going to use it for probability things. So Might as well use 2 now. I'm not going to make you expand with this. I will let you use your Pascal's triangle. So I have 7 choose how many?
0.
0. So 7 factorial over 7 factorial over 0 factorial. And I didn't review this, and maybe I should. Anything to the 0 power is what? 1. So what do you think 0 factorial is? 1. It is not 0. Okay, 0 factorial is 1. Any test, any standardized test that puts factorials on there, that's going to happen.
Can't you just already?
Okay, so now 7 factorial and 7 factorial, yes, Callie, you're right, reduced to 1. Yes?
Yeah.
And what is 0 factorial? 1. And what do you get? 1. On the 7th row, in the 0 position, what is your number? 1. Stay away.
The next side intelligence.
Like you're falling asleep.
We called you a
Okay, you do the next one. I wonder if my phone will charge it. I hope that I'll sync to that. Callie, what'd you get? 1. What'd you get, Kendra? 1. It's actually almost the same exact setup as the one next to it, correct? But it would 0 factorial, 8 factorial, right? You're putting it in order, but it's multiplication, so it really doesn't matter, does it? So you get a whole bunch of 1s. So go to your 8th row and go to the 8th term, and what do you get? 1. Make sense? Okay. Formula's not too hard to remember. I would suggest maybe writing it out a couple times so you do remember it. You will need it on your test, and I will not give it to you.
Are we done?
Nope. Okay, so Pascal's triangle, you don't need to write this down. We did this yesterday, yes? Okay, so we did Pascal's triangle yesterday. I showed you how the binomial theorem and the Pascal's triangle gave you the same coefficients. We just saw that, right? So you can use either method to find the coefficients. If I just wanted one coefficient, I didn't want to expand it, I would use the binomial theorem. What we just did, because I could find one thing, right? But if I had the 9th row and I had to expand something to the 9th, I'd probably take the time to write out the 9th row because I don't want to do that 10 times. Because the first one's 0, right? But we always know the first and the last coefficient are what? 1. So you use them where it's appropriate to use them. So this just shows you again where we got it. Do you see the triangle in here in this picture? Okay, they just expanded it to show you, and you have this, and you're all good. So let's actually use it. Oh, we're not going to do this. Okay, it says use the 8th row of Pascal's triangle to find the binomial coefficients. Instead of using the formula 9 times, I don't want to use the formula 9 times, do you?
No.
Go to your 8th row. Okay, everyone looking at their 8th row?
Yeah.
What is the 0 term? 1. What's the first one?
8.
Oops, just a second. So I have 1, I have 8, I have 28, 56.
70.
Okay, so when I have to do all of them, is it more efficient to use my triangle? Yes. Even if I had to make the triangle to the 8th row, would it be more efficient than doing the binomial theorem And actually, you don't have to do it the first to the last, but you still have to do it 7 other times. I don't want to do it 7 other times. I'd make anything up to probably the 10th row because it goes pretty quick. And I usually only start at the 3rd row or the 4th row on a good day because I know the other ones. So, now let's use it to expand. So we're going to use your Pascal's triangle. So the first thing you're going to do are what are the coefficients using what row? 3rd. So what are the coefficients? Okay, so we're going to write over here. We're just going to write 1, 3, 3, 1. Yes? Okay, so we know that the patterns of these things the powers of the first term go down, correct, as we move through, and the powers of the second go up. Yes? And both are only ever going to equal what? 3 when I add them together? So we're going to do this. So we have 1. 1 is always going to be there. So the first term here is x, correct? So it's going to be times x to what power? 3rd? Okay. The second term is 1, yes? So we're going to have times 1 to the 0. So the first term is going to start at the highest, the last term is going to start at 0, and then they're going to go down and go up from there. So plus, and it's plus because it's plus here in the problem. Okay, what's my next coefficient? 3. X to the what? Squared. 1 to the first. Okay, next coefficient? 3. X to the first. 1 to the second. Next coefficient? 1. X to the 0. 1 to the 3rd. Now, do I have to write x to the 0 and do I have to write 1 to the 0? No. But does it show you how that works?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, now I've done it. Now I'm just going to look at each term. So I've got 1 to the 0 is 1. 1 times 1 is? 1 times 1 is 1. So I just have x cubed. Yes?
I saw the 3, I said 3.
I got it. Okay, 1 to the first is 1 times 3 is? 3. And the next one's going to be? 3x. And the last is going to be? 1. Because 1 cubed is 1, right? Now, quick checks. This is what I do when I use this. I write it all out, and I usually don't do it for cubed. Just no, it's kind of silly. But we have it for cubed. I write it all out. I take a minute and look. Do I have the first one to the highest power, the next one to the 0 power? Yes. Do they add up to 3? Yes. Do the next ones add up to 3? 3. 3. I stop and take a minute because, or not even a minute, but I'd rather do that than get the whole problem done and then not have done it right. You notice that I put parentheses around the 1, correct? What if that 1 was 17y? I'd have to square 17 and y, both of them. So the whole term is squared or cubed or whatever, not just the variable, okay? Make sense? Okay, so we have 2x minus 3 to the 4th.
1, 4, 6, 4, 1.
Okay, so the first thing Elena did was she said the 4th row is 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. So she has that down. So those are the coefficients she's going to use as we move along here. So it's going to be 1 times, what's the first term? 2x to what power? 4th. And the second term is? Second term is negative 3, isn't it? Isn't it negative 3?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I didn't put a positive on the last one because does it matter with the positive? No. Is it going to matter with the negative? Yeah. So negative 3 to what power? 0. And this is where at y, since you put the negative there, you can just put pluses. because your negatives will come out when you do your math. So plus, what's my coefficient? 4. First term, 2x to what power? 3. Negative 3 to the first. Plus
times 2x in the second.
Times negative 3 to the second. Plus 4 times 2x to the first. Times negative 3 to the third.
oops.
Plus times 2x to the 0. Times negative 3 to the 4.
What happened? Oh, it better come back.
Does that clear after you go wet?
I think I can bring back. Yep.
It came back.
I figured out I can bring it back for a,
Nice.
it's so close to the arrow on the other side. It keeps getting the arrow.
No, hit the arrow. You hit the arrow.
Just like an arrow.
There's a 4 there. Okay.
I'm going to submit it. I
Okay.
can put a paragraph in there.
Okay.
So
That
I'm
works.
just gonna do. Okay.
Yep. Okay, so now you just go through the process of simplifying, right? You're just doing our math right. Well,
Why is there a 4 there?
because you have to have to the fourth, like the power on the negative 3 went 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's to the fourth power.
I'll just go like through the 4.
Well, I can't get it up there because I keep hitting that arrow that you can't see. There's an arrow on my thing. Okay, so negative 3 to the 0 is what? 1? Okay, so 1 times 1 times it's going to be what it is, right? So I need 2 to the 4th. 16. So I have 16x to the 4th plus, well, it's going to be 8, right? And then negative 3. So negative 3 times 4 is negative 12, right? And 12 times 8 is
Wait, 8 times?
96.
96. 8 times 12. So it's not plus, it's going to be what? Sorry, minus. I shouldn't have put a minus.
Where'd you get 8 times 12?
Because I have 4, 8, and negative 3. Whatever way you want to do it, that's how I did it. And it's going to be x to the what? Third. Okay, now the next one is all squared, so it's going to be positive, isn't it? Okay, so plus, I'm safe there. 2 squared is 4. And negative 3 squared is 9. 24 times 9 or 36. Wait, 36 times 6. Oh, that's easier in my brain.
But it's 216.
Yep, it is 216. So 216 x squared. And to the first, so that's just 2, isn't it? And 3 times 3 times 3 is negative 27. So it's going to be negative, right? So 8 times 27. So you get what is 5 carry. Right, 5 carry a 1 is 17. So 175, I think.
Yeah.
X. And then 3 to the 4th. Yes, it is going to be plus because those are all even powers, right? And then 3 to the 4th would be 9 times 9 is 81 times 2.
How'd you get a 4?
Why are we talking about 2?
Isn't it 162?
162.
Okay. Where did I get a 5?
Yeah. For the 175.
I added. That's why I said you guys should be checking my
I was,
multiplication.
and that's why I was questioning.
Okay, so
I knew it was right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same, yes.
You lost me at negative 96.
I'm just multiplying. You've got to multiply, and you can't take forever and a day to do it. You guys got to find out quicker ways to do your
So
multiplication.
basically, you
I
find
don't
the
know,
power
we're still
first
doing
and
the
then you
one.
multiply.
Yes, you have to, because order of operations tells me you have to do what first? Exponents or multiply? Exponents. So you have to do the power, and then you multiply it out.
Why did we multiply 81 by 2? Because wouldn't 2x to 0 be 1?
Oh, yes, it would be. Thank you very much. Because 2x to the 0 is 1, yes? So that's just plus 81. Did you get 27 times 8 yet?
I thought it was 9.
What?
216.
216 again. What's 9?
What do you have mine? I thought that.
Yeah, it's 10 and 6 at least.
Yeah, we have 2 and 4 is 8. So you have to work it out. I squished mine up. Do you maybe need to give yourself a little bit more room?
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Some people will go through and instead of I put my stuff on the top. See that? They'll leave a gap here and they'll be doing this math down here so they can see it better. Okay, what do you need?
Not yet.
With our Odyssey.
Here, Okay, I'm going to give you another one and you guys can try it. Okay, so your row is 1, 4, 6, 4, 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. And so as I go along, I'm going to have 1 times x to the 4th, and then negative 2 to the 0, plus 4 times x to the 3rd, negative 2y to the 1st, plus 6x squared, negative 2y to the 2nd, 4x, negative 2y to the 3rd, and 1x to 0, negative 2y to the 4th. Yes? Okay. Got that? Everyone got that?
Is there a difference when you put your exponent in the parentheses?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because on the other one, you didn't put it in there at all.
Well, it doesn't matter for like the x.
It doesn't matter for the
There's only
x because it's one thing, but it matters for the negative 2y.
Okay.
If there's two things, it matters.
So we can keep the exponents out of the x?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so then this is 1, so I just have x to the 4th, yes?
Yeah.
And then this is negative 2 times, so negative 8
X cubed.
cubed y.
Y.
And then this is 4, so plus 24x squared y squared.
Yeah.
And next one's going to be minus. And 8, so 32 xy cubed. And then 4, 16, so plus 16y to the 4th.
I butchered this.
What?
Me too.
Okay, did you see your mistake? You don't need to erase it. Just make a circle and say don't do that again. Okay? So on your assignment today, it's going to say use the binomial theorem to find the coefficient. So you use the binomial theorem, use the equation, okay? And then it's going to say expand using Pascal's triangle. So expand using what? Pascal's triangle. And then you might have what's the coefficient using Pascal's triangle. So then you look at your Pascal's triangle and you find the coefficient. What do you have to remember? The first spot is from the left. Is that
0.
is 0. You might want to, where you wrote 0 row, you might want to write a 0 position or something on that left-hand side.
So
Is it
1
left?
equals 0.
Not, well, on the left, not on the right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
On the left.
Yeah. On the left, that's the 0 position. Okay.
How did you get 20? Okay.
How'd I get 24?
No, never mind. I was looking at.
Paired up the wrong one.
Okay. Yeah, because I moved over and it's hard to line it up. Sorry. Okay. Any other questions before I move on this one? I think that might be the last one, or if I just have it's just another example. It's just okay. What's the only difference? Let me see if I haven't. Yeah, that's the last one. What's the only difference on this one, guys? There's an exponent, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do I do when I take a power to a power? What do I do to the two? No.
Oh, you multiply.
I multiply. When I take a power to a power, I multiply, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So do we have time to do this one?
We have probably.
We've got a few minutes. We can set it up at least, right? Okay, so it's what row?
Third.
Third, so it's what's my numbers?
3, 1.
1, 3, 3, 1. Okay, so it's going to be 1 times x squared to what power? The third. And 4 to the 0. And 3 times x squared to the second. And 4 to the first. And 3 times x squared to the first. And 4 to the second. And 1 times x squared to the 0. And 4 to the third. I'm going to tell you that putting parentheses around your numbers is going to be your biggest saving grace, because you need to remember that you're squaring negatives and the whole thing. Does that make sense? Okay, so 4 to the 0 is 1. And 1 times 1 is 1. And 2 times 3 is 6. X to the 6th. Then I have 4 times 3 on the next one. 12. X to the 4th.
Where'd you get the 4?
Because I have 2 times 2. I have x squared squared. So I have to take 2 times 2. And then I have 4 squared, which is 16. So it's 48. So plus 48. X to the second. And then x squared to the first is 1. So I have 4 cubed, so 64. Now, it didn't go in increments of 1. They went down in increments of what? 2. Why? Because you started with squared. So if I started with cubed, they go down in increments of what? 3. Make sense? Okay. Yeah, well, it is online, but I'll write it down real quick. It is page 653. I'm really sorry I didn't get it on there. I got sidetracked with other things today. 5 through 19 or 15, odd. And 25 through 33. We are not spending another day on this, so it's important that you guys work on it tonight and ask questions tomorrow. You need to get your triangle filled out.
Is the
Your past